Welcome to Nostalgia, your favorite pop culture podcast, where we have deep conversations about superficial things. I'm Nicole, your host, and each week we unlock core memories from the 90s, 2000s, and beyond while examining the past through a contemporary lens. Our guests are pop culture tastemakers who explore how our formative experiences shape how we see the world. We talk about trends, fashion, music, identity, consumer behavior, societal attitudes, and more. Nostalgia is a reminder of how our individual and collective memories make us feel like we belong. And if you like Nostalgia, be sure to follow, subscribe, rate, review, and share with a friend who loves pop culture as much as we do. Plus, we have a lot of fun. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Nostalgia. I have Brian here with me today, and I'm super excited because his TikTok videos crack me up. He creates not just one, but actually multiple different characters and really incorporates music and pop culture in a fun and exciting way. So I'm really happy to talk about kind of where those characters came from, your approach to not just content making, but music making as well. If you're listening as opposed to watching the podcast right now, Brian's sitting in front of a row of guitars and it's a very cool setup. So we're going to hear all about it. Welcome.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Thanks for being here. So yeah, your character, so your main character basically, because you do perform as an entire band, but your main character is like a music executive. Where did you get the idea for this? Is it inspired by someone? And where did it all come about?
I've been in music a long time, and I think one of the biggest tropes in music is like the studio exec. One of the people who like sits behind the desk and is like, I'm gonna take you out of this town, you know, like I'm gonna make you a big shot. So my friends and I have done that bit for years, just like around. And if you go back to like the first videos, I wasn't doing anything different, you know. I was just kind of being myself, and then it kind of really transformed into this Rich Richards character. He's got a name, and that's that's his name. I don't know. It kind of just came. It really kind of came from necessity. I feel like TikTok loves a character. You know what I'm saying? Like TikTok is really big into characters, and characters seem to do really well on that platform. I myself, being a character, was like, I need to kind of make him what people imagine a studio executive would be. And there's a lot of humor that comes from that because he's pretty dumb as a character. Like the stupidity is, I think, a big piece of it. But yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
Do you play in your videos the soundtracks to these things, or do you also sometimes incorporate your own music into the sketches that you do?
There are a few sketches that I added my own music into. So I have been producing music for it's probably been 15 years plus at this point. I started with like a little computer, like my first computer that I got from a friend who was throwing away a computer. I added there's a program called Audacity. And
yeah.
you throw on like Audacity on that, and like I would just mess around with recording myself. There was no instruments at the time. I didn't have anything to plug in. I didn't have anything to mess around with. But I've always loved recording. I've always kind of found that I am very good on the kind of production aspect of things. So there's a couple videos where I did remixes of popular songs. Inspector Gadget. I don't even remember the other one. There's a few that maybe it was DuckTales, that I did like my own kind of DJ flip on them, and kind of did a character where like, you know, it's the DJ friend who remixes everything. Mm-hmm. And those are my own music. All of the like manager ones are the actual song. Mm-hmm. The funny thing with those is a lot of times you have to learn how to play the song in order for it to look somewhat decent. So while I'm not always playing dead on to what the song sounds like, I'm within the ballpark, and sometimes I'm playing exactly, just because some of them are easy to play. But it is kind of a unique combination of like I am playing just because I want the video to look right, and so I'd say it's 50-50.
What is your favorite TV theme to play on the guitar?
My favorite TV theme?
Yeah.
Let's see. I did one recently, and I actually really enjoyed. I really enjoyed doing it. Let's see. Maybe it was the Home Depot theme, actually. The Home Depot theme is so simple, but it's like one of those themes that, like, if you have a guitar and an amp, you could really rock out to. So while it's not a TV theme, that one was really kind of like fun to just learn to play. And that in that video, I am playing dead on. Like, if you were to take the sound away, I'm not plugged into anything when we're shooting these videos, but it would be exactly the Home Depot song.
Okay, these are some other ones I love. Beastie Boys doing the Scooby-Doo theme, the ESPN sound, and Metro Station's Shake It.
Oh, yeah.
It's like once these songs start, you can't get over it. You're like, I'm hooked.
Yeah. I think that's how a lot of, there's something special about music. I've always loved music. That it just communicates to people differently than anything else. And stuff like the Metro Station video, like I'm wearing like pretty much the outfits that like Trace Cyrus was wearing like back in the Metro Station days, because that's the world I come from. I mean, I'm a musician right out of high school. I didn't go to college. I toured with a band. So I toured with a pop punk outfit, and did the whole kind of, pop punk tour life, like 6 dudes living out of a van. And like those songs got a bad rap a lot of the time, I feel like, in like the pop punk world, because they're like, oh, it's not real pop punk, dude. But like, I loved all of that stuff, all that cheesy, like early 2000s, like emo and pop punk. Like that's definitely my jam. So that Metro Station one was really fun to do.
You know what particular piece of clothing or accessories that I think of for that era that you wore, okay? The teal Wayfarer sunglasses. Yeah. They had to be teal, and they were like, and they were probably not Ray-Ban too. Like, I definitely had a knockoff pair of whatever.
For sure,
but like, yeah, they're those teal sunglasses, and I don't know what it was. It just went perfectly with like a t-shirt with the shoulders cut off, or like or just a white t-shirt, so you could go to a neon party and get like paint splattered on you. It was the thing, and it's so funny trying to explain it now, because it was a little bit of you had to be there situation.
It is so, it is so weird, because you look at stuff like LMFAO and stuff like that, how that just blew up huge in like the 2010s, 2012s. And that was the aesthetic. The aesthetic was like Jersey Shore, everything neon, everything club, like just, and it was nonstop for a few years of just everything was super vibrant. Every shirt had huge lettering on it. Like, yeah, it was very much that neon paint party, like, aesthetic.
Yes. So LMFAO did Jersey Shore's theme song, and Berry Gordy, like the Motown Records major executive, his son, I think, is one of the guys from LMFAO, or like his nephew, and then the other guy is like his grandson or something.
Yes,
and
they were a family.
I was like, okay, because I was always like, how did these guys get famous? It feels like it needed to be more, it had to be a nepotism thing, as opposed to like just happening to be in the right place at the right time with like off the top of my head, I can't remember the brand, but Kanye West wore the sunglasses in 2008 with the lines, the horizontal lines through them.
Shutter shades.
And it's like, I was like, there had to be something more, and alas, there was. So I'm like, okay, now at least everything makes sense in the world.
LMFAO is definitely what shutter shades like sound like. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely like they're just. It is just that kind of. It was a weird time, and I don't think it's one of those times that like is gonna. I think it's gonna be totally overlooked as like a trend because it was such an odd kind of visual experience. Maybe it won't. Maybe I always say LMFAO needs to come back. I did hear that they had like a huge falling out at some point because of the family dynamic there, and each person felt like they were getting taken advantage of or something like that. But dude, I'm down for an LMFAO reunion.
It's very interesting to see
Yeah.
how things come back and like what resonates and what doesn't in a new cultural zeitgeist. But then there are also so many things where it's like when every show tries to do a reboot and it's like, honestly, it was fine back then and we don't need to remake it. We don't need to go back. We don't need to continue the story. Just I'm kind of over it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I hear you. There are definitely a lot of soulless remakes of things these days. I mean, you can take a look at any of the Disney animation and like, having it turned CGI. It doesn't need to be turned CGI except for the look, because the heart of the story is like almost not there anymore with a lot of them. It kind of removes it kind of removes the kind of genuine feeling you get from that animation and from the acting.
What was your favorite Disney movie when you were growing up?
I like kind of the weird ones. I liked like The Great Mouse Detective.
Oh,
and, like,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, and like I kind of liked the weird The Rescuers Down Under. Like I for some reason those stand out more than the standard movies because they had a weird aesthetic about them. They had something they had something very unique from the rest of the movies. They were darker. They were like they were just a little I don't know, mysterious, I guess is kind of the word, maybe.
Yeah.
But they weren't weird. They were kind of they were very different. There's a little bit more danger there in those movies. Like
for sure. My favorite was always The Little Mermaid. I was just such a big stan, obsessed. But I also loved this one wasn't Disney, but Thumbelina. I loved too. And I think Fern Gully I liked. Swan Princess I loved. Just anything having to do with a princess. I was like, I'm down. Get me a crown, get me a wand, and we're off.
Yeah, the Fern Gully. My fiance is very big into Fern Gully.
Yeah.
Big fan of Fern Gully.
Yeah,
like
I don't
the
know
music
what it
and
is.
stuff, like baddie raps and all that kind of like.
Yeah, I know. I love that sense of kind of like whimsy that goes into everything.
Yeah.
It's not officially fall yet. I think by the time this airs, it will be officially fall.
Yeah.
And I discovered today that you made a video in 2015 where you rapped in front of a Starbucks about pumpkin spice lattes. And so tell me, are you an autumn person? Is this your favorite time of the year? Or is it just like, did I mention that we're both from Connecticut yet in the show? Because we are. Is it a New Englander thing?
Maybe. There's a great debate here for fall people and people who are into fall flavors. And the huge debate is pumpkin spice versus like apple pie seasoning. Because they do like an apple cider it's really because of Starbucks. Starbucks does like an apple cider thing now too that has like a cider spice that's different from pumpkin spice. And I've always been a fan of pumpkin spice lattes. When that came out, it was such a meme. It was such a like oh, like you're basic because you like pumpkin spice lattes. And I've always liked them. I'm actually more of a summer person than anything, but like once pumpkin spice season hits, I will consistently be drinking pumpkin spice lattes.
It is September, so it is acceptable, therefore, in my book, to have pumpkin spice. So I actually had my first pumpkin spice drink of the season. I had an iced, because I always do iced, even if it's like the dead of winter, an iced chai, like a pumpkin spice iced chai, which was very good. And I feel like, in 2015, that was really like the peak of when the internet vernacular around being basic came out. And so it was like this big divisive thing. And it's like, honestly, let people like what they like. Who cares? And actually, what I even thought was funnier was like, on September 1st, someone posted a meme and they're like, it's September 1st. And it's a picture of the cover of Mariah Carey's Christmas CD.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, see, now that's where it's controversial. I'm not listening to Christmas songs in September, but do I listen to them in November? Yeah, I do.
Did you start November 1st?
I did last year.
So they're thawing Mariah Carey right now.
Okay, you know what
Mariah
was
Carey
the
and Michael
crazy-
Bublé, they got to thaw him out for.
Dude, Michael Bublé got a good deal. Like, that guy was just in the right place at the right time. Like, something happened, and I don't want to say he's lucky. Like, he is talented, but like, there's just something that he was just.
He seems
it
like
worked.
a great guy. Like he does some comedy content. Every once in a while, you will see him in some comedy skit. I don't know if it's like another creator finds him and is like, let's do a skit or something like that. But there's a video of him online, and you could find it, where someone is going up to him, and it's almost shot like a fan video, where like someone's going up to him with a phone, and he's like, come on, man, come on, I don't want to sing right. And then he just breaks into song, and then he's like, but seriously, I'm done. And then like keeps breaking into song, and he's got chops, like he's got comedy chops. Like the skit is actually funny because it seems like it's shot from the perspective of someone with a phone, you know?
Yeah, I just feel like he's one of those people where you want to be like, oh no, not Michael Bublé again, but I can't. Every time I hear him, I'm filled with the holiday spirit, and I'm filled with joy. Even his songs like Everything, and Everything, I think, is my favorite Michael Bublé song.
Like,
and it's
I
like
just
you
haven't
hear
met
it,
you yet. Yeah.
and you're like, I'm happy. I believe in love again. I just got my coffee without having to wait in line for too long. I'm skipping down the street. Like, the sun is out and life is good.
Yeah. Yeah, Bublé that's also the other thing is like there's no lounge singers these days. You know what I'm saying? There's not like a lounge singer, and he somehow broke through as like the lounge singer. That's like he's the single lounge singer, and is probably raking in a lot of money with all the Christmas albums.
Yes.
I imagine every year his bank account's looking real nice.
Yeah, right? No wonder you have such Christmas spirit, you know?
Yep.
You're like still doing considerably well.
Well, I think that's kind of a recommended thing. If you look at anyone who's ever made a Christmas movie or a Christmas song, like it comes back around every year, and every year you're kind of guaranteed, as long as that does decent, that people are going to listen to it, people are going to play it. I mean, what are the residuals from Elf looking like? You know what I'm saying?
I went thrifting yesterday, and I found something very exciting and special that I'm going to show you because the bag happens to be directly next to me. For $1, actually, I think it was 2 for 99 cents. I found the Mariah Carey Christmas CD. This is a Christmas decoration. What I'm going to do this year for my Christmas tree is I am just going to DIY and put like a little bracket on the top and then attach this album as the star on the top of my Christmas tree.
That is brilliant. And you're definitely going to share that online because that might be the new star at the top of the Christmas tree.
Like, this is it. Absolutely. Thank you. I agree.
You might create a legit movement. Mariah Carey on top of the Christmas tree. It's A+.
Mariah Carey, so last week was the anniversary of her 1993 album Music Box, and that was the first CD that I ever bought. I had bought I think like Spice Girls Spice World on tape cassette, but I think the first CD I remember getting was Mariah Carey's Music Box, and it was like so serious for, you know, a like little elementary schooler to get, but I got it at the local record store where they not just had CDs and tapes, but they had all the, like, you know, those towers where they had all those keychains with slightly like inappropriate for children sayings. At Strawberries. Did you have Strawberries?
We did. Strawberries, coconuts. There. I think I know the strawberries that you're. Oh wait, no, you were from more upstate, but there were strawberries and coconuts in Stamford that my grandparents used to live in Stamford, Connecticut, and we would go there. FYE was my big one. FYE was my big one because it was very close to me, and that's where I got my first album, which is pretty embarrassing, but also may explain a lot. Weird Al's The Food album.
I had Weird Al's Greatest Hits. I got that CD when I was in 6th grade, I think, because me and my best friend would go to her house after school, play Sims on her computer. We would sing karaoke, and we would play the Weird Al CD. And it just... I'm so excited for that movie that's coming out.
Me too. Daniel Radcliffe takes on some of the oddest roles, but I think that is like, it's so... I like that Weird Al also had a part in it. Like, he is also the executive in the movie. And I don't know, there's something about Weird Al from back in the day that I just connected with. It was truly that I felt like a weird kid all the time because I was very different. I have ADHD, and I grew up with that like my whole life as like I'm weird and like different. And Weird Al made it okay to be weird. Like, it made it okay to be kind of odd and be on the outside of, like, you know, what people thought was normal. And I was like, oh, this guy, like, he plays accordion and sings about Oreos or whatever. Like, yeah,
I know. I always thought that what he did was so clever, and that he wasn't trying to come onto the scene like some kind of Casanova or like sex symbol. He was like, I'm just wearing like this crazy printed shirt, and I like have this big hair, and I wear glasses, and like he never had to change who he was in order to fit in some kind of mold. And that idea of self-expression and truly being unapologetic about it, like it resonates so much, because in a world where like you're constantly just pressured to fit in or to fit in a mold, you realize like you weren't meant to fit in the first place. You were meant to stand out. You were meant to be different. You were meant to be a little weird. And even having a role model in that to be like, that's totally okay. I love that.
Yeah. I really think that it's just I mean, everyone needs to box things. You gotta, like, people understand things in boxes. That's kind of how we think. So, like, Brian Blackmore, musician. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very easy to just say, okay, musician, I got it. When truly I'm, you know, a DJ, a producer, content creator. But it's so hard to grasp all of those, you know? So with any brand, and I mean, you know branding, you study branding, like that's also the piece, is that I have to be able to elevate or pitch your brand. I have to say, this is my brand, this is what it does, this is why you need it, you know? And that's really hard when you want to do a lot of things. It's really challenging. And I think that any content creators coming up, I think that the Gen Z is kind of starting to realize that, like, you don't have to just do one thing, and you can kind of be more of yourself than previously thought, you know?
Yeah, and I think that I always saw my past experience as like, oh, well, I did something and it was different. And it's like, well, no, everything kind of just informs what you do now. And whatever your elevator pitch says, that is what people believe. And the judgment that we have on our past selves for how successful we were at fitting in or not fitting into those boxes, we carry that with us for so long, when actually it literally doesn't matter. And if you want to be a hybrid professional or creator where it's like, well, yeah, I'm not just this or I'm not just that. I can actually be both of these things simultaneously. And maybe it sounds counterintuitive to someone else, but for me, it works. Yeah. I think it's so refreshing to even give yourself permission to have that kind of path to pursue the things that you want to do without it having to be so linear.
Yeah, I really think that it's the other piece of that is that a lot of people kind of perceive that as like being real and spacing yourself out and saying I do multiple things. Like, it's almost perceived as like kind of cringe, you know? Like, oh, like it's got to be the one thing that you do. You have to be good at that thing, and that's the thing that you're good at. And I don't want to hear about everything else. But I have also heard from I don't remember who said it, but they said kill the part of yourself that cringes, not the part of yourself that's cringe, which is like, don't cringe at your own stuff just because other people are going to go, oh, that's cringe, you know, like kill the part of yourself that does that, because it's really like you just being yourself. And I think that there's so much that people have to offer, and sometimes we're so concerned about what people are going to perceive. And while it may not be the biggest, most successful venture or most viral TikTok, like it's you know, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, I saw someone say once on TikTok that if you think of it like a music album, traditionally, where you have a lead single and then you might have a few other singles on the album, but there were still a bunch of other songs on the album. And so it's kind of the same thing as your TikTok videos. Maybe you have one that has virality and then some that maybe don't. Does that mean that those songs aren't valuable? Does that mean those songs aren't worth anything, that you didn't put your creative energy and effort into them just because of what the record label, the radio station, like all of the people who curate like what is successful and what is not? Like it's the same thing as an algorithm. And so I think just realizing that whatever you do inherently has worth because you pressed post, like you put in that work, you did that.
I think that that's always something that I've been good at, is that I just kind of will post. You know what I'm saying? Like I come up with an idea. I've always created. So it's always just kind of flowed through me. And while I do look at stuff and I'm like, oh, that's not gonna do well. When I feel like I have something, I just put it out there. You know what I'm saying? When I feel like I have a decent idea, I just put it out there, and we'll see how people react to it. And I mean, I used to be very concerned with the algorithm and how it was going to be shown and how it's going to be put out there. But more recently, it's been like I make videos whether one person watches or whether 100,000 people watch them. I would be making them to this day if there was no audience, just like I did when I was, 15, 16, 17. So I don't see any other path forward for me than to create content, and I'm not going to limit myself and limit what I can create based on, hey, you do this character and you do this guy, and that's what you do. And that's honestly, TikTok every day would ask me to do one of those videos if it asked you to do a video. Like TikTok every day wants the same video. Same video, same video, same video, same video. And then you'll get crazy views. But also, an algorithm doesn't get tired, and I do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, an algorithm doesn't wear out. An algorithm will ask for that till the end of time. But there's also a part of me that's like, I want to make a different thing today. I want to make a different piece. I want to do something that's maybe out of left field. And the most recent one I did that was different than my normal format but worked was 8675309, which is like, which it just opened right away with them playing the song. And I thought it was funny that whoever had the phone number 8675309 when that song came out, it was an absolute nightmare for them immediately. Like, they're like, no.
I'm not going to dox one of my best friends, but she has a phone number that is one digit away from
Really?
that. Yeah, and it's actually cool because she is one of my friends who I met in 6th grade, and we bonded over our love for Queen and the Beatles. And so to be two, 11-year-old girls in the early 2000s bonding over, our parents' music from at least 30 years earlier, that was something that always brought us together. And so I had one other friend as well who had grown up with classic rock as a big part of what they listened to. So it was so funny that out of every one of my friends who, obviously it was a few years later when everybody got cell phones, but out of all of my friends that could have had that phone number, it was like one of the friends who actually knows that song.
Who understands it, yeah.
Who understands the gravity of having that be your phone number? That's crazy.
I think there's speaking of growing up listening to classic rock, I think there is a number of, kids from our generation who grew up in the car listening to their parents' music. You know, while you're driving around, my father would always have the radio on and always be the classic rock station. But even more so, like my dad was a big vinyl guy and had tons of vinyls, and I always thought those were so interesting and so cool, and like, oh, look at this like collection of music. And now I listen to a lot of stuff. Like I listen to the charts constantly. I have a weird listening habit where like I don't listen to the same song twice. Because I want to hear the new. I want to hear what's coming through the filter right now, like the moment it comes out. That's just, being online all the time. Like,
yeah.
I want to hear what's the new production technique. What's the new? How are they miking this vocal? Where's the? Like I'm always listening for that. So I'm always searching for the new. But if I am just looking to vibe for something in the background, I like to put on a yacht rock playlist, which is all those like early 70s and 80s like smooth rock, like the Doobie Brothers and like stuff like that.
Yes,
I mean
the Pina Colada song.
Yeah, Pina Colada, like Jimmy Buffett. I think you could definitely consider yacht rock. But there's a whole it's on Spotify. Spotify has this playlist made of just yacht rock, and it makes me feel it kind of makes me feel happy and brings me back to a time where like I didn't really have any stresses because I was a kid,
I listen to yacht rock when I am grocery shopping. So if I go grocery shopping by myself, I'll put in AirPods, and not that the music that they play in the grocery store is bad necessarily. I know people make so many jokes about like Bed Bath & Beyond music and whatnot, which is really just like 2000s adult contemporary, which is a whole different playlist. But yeah, I find that yacht rock when I'm grocery shopping is very comforting.
It's just smooth music, like it's just like it really is like just kind of like the sounds that they use are very like relaxing and oceany, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like they feel kind of like the ocean. My Twitch stream is called the Yacht Club, so
nice.
So I have a big connection with yacht rock, and like the following on Twitch is they all know that my Twitch stream is the smoothest stream on Twitch because it's the Yacht Club. So
that is so
that's
amazing.
all based on yacht rock. Yeah, it is kind of. I mean, I listen to, so I mean, one of my big things and something that I do, as well as all the content creation, is I am a DJ for Emo Night Connecticut, which is a company in Connecticut. And,
I need to go. I haven't been.
So that's my company. We had a sold out show at Two Roads Brewery last night, which is the largest.
It was last night. Oh my god, I missed it. Okay, next one I'm going 1,000,000%.
Yeah, it sold out, completely sold out. It was the craziest thing. I mean, I could I guess I could send you the video if you could throw it up in the podcast. But the field was it's people as far as I could see. Biggest show I've ever done personally. But that was like. Yeah, so the other music I listen to is also like emo and early 2000s, and anything that I that kind of sparks my brain is what I'll listen to though.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some Connecticut questions. You'd mentioned listening to the radio. What was your favorite radio station?
Star 99.9.
Wow, I wasn't expecting you to say that.
Only because it's the one that was always on the car. Like when my mom was driving, it would always be like Star 99.9. Like it just sticks in my head. Like didn't they play like the more like relaxing? Wasn't that adult contemporary?
They played relaxing, and then like I think that was the station where Delilah would come on at night.
Delilah.
Yeah,
dude, I remember that.
Yep. My mom was a light 100.5 WRCH. That was like a New Britain, Hartford.
Yep.
Station.
You're from Connecticut if you know who Delilah is.
Yeah. And then my dad, we would always play 99.1 WPLR New Haven. That was the classic rock station. And actually, there was an oldie station. It was 102.9. And
the Fox.
Yeah, and it used to be called Big D 103, and I literally went to the grocery store the other day, and someone had a bumper sticker on their car that just said Big D, but like 102.9, so you knew it was the radio station. But I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I see why they rebranded. Yeah. Where did you go see concerts growing up? The Meadows, the Oakdale?
So my first concert was at the Meadows, and it was Carlos Santana.
Cool.
I saw Carlos Santana. My father's a big Carlos Santana fan, so we went to Carlos Santana, and I remember because I was pretty young. Like I was definitely on the younger side. I was like, as soon as Carlos came on, I was like, "Yo, it smells weird in here."
Oh my God, that's so funny. I think mine was In Sync at the Hartford Civic Center.
Yeah,
which was good. And now, if anyone's like, "Oh, where's the concert?" and I'm like, oh, I'd always just say the Oakdale. I actually went to see Dashboard Confessional and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness at the Oakdale in August, which you got to see your MySpace song and AIM Away Message song bands in concert. That was always just like on my bucket list, so I went. But yeah, people are like, oh, where is it? I'm like, I don't know what it's called now. It's like the Dodge, Toyota, Camry, Taco Bell, Crypto.com arena. Like, I don't know. It's the Oakdale.
Everything has that name now. Everything's got a name that's like Capital One. Like
it's a arena. Car and then a credit card and then a fast food place all in one now, I swear.
Thank you for buying your tickets.
I know.
It's funny. Motion City Soundtrack is coming to Toad's Place, and I went to Toad's Place a lot. As like coming up in the music scene. Toad's Place has been around forever though, and the venue today looks like it's been around forever.
Okay, this is interesting because someone who is listening to Nostalgia was like, hey, I love this episode, but you mentioned a tag sale. What's a tag sale? And I know it's a Connecticut thing, but I don't know if it made its way down to you. Tag sales or like garage sales, yard sales, rummage sales, whatever. But like if you go anywhere in at least central Connecticut, it will say tag sale. Had you heard of this name before?
I have a song on Spotify called Tag Sale.
Oh my God. Okay. So see, I didn't make it up. I'm not imagining it. Tag sales are a thing.
Yep. Yeah. Tag sale. Oh, 100%. We would go tag sailing. Like, my grandma would take me around to tag sales, and we'd go tag sailing. Yeah. What else? A yard sale? Is that the other?
Yeah, people say garage sale.
Oh.
Or whatever, and I'm like, tag sale. You put a tag on something, and then you fight about its price being like $1 in somebody's driveway. Yeah.
That's probably also very New England. Like, you're expecting to go in there and, like, haggle with them. Mm-hmm. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, have you ever been to Lake Compounds, the amusement park?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's actually it's right next to ESPN.
Yeah, I've been to Lake Compounds once or twice. It's okay. I like the water park stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a big rides person. I don't really like roller coasters or anything like that. So water slides are my thing. So yeah, Lake Compounds is probably the best one for me to go to.
Did you go? There was this ride called like River Rapids or something, and you would get in that big like tube of 8 people, and like it was a water ride. I remember that. Go around.
Yep, I do remember that. I don't think I ever got in it though. I've never been a big ride person.
That was my favorite thing when I was a kid.
Have you ever been to Quassy?
I have been to Quassy as a kid, and I actually sometimes I go to this restaurant in Woodbury, so I'll drive by Quassy on my way there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lake Compounds is in my hometown, and that was where I had my first job as a ride attendant. I would make sure that people were tall enough to go on the ride and corral them in line. And meanwhile, like I'm barely tall enough to go on any of the rides.
You're like,
but yeah,
nope, you're not at the line yet. Maybe one day.
And I would just I would stand there chilling, and then I had several friends who worked in the park as well. It was almost like a rite of passage, and one of my best friends worked in the panini shop, which had air conditioning, and so I would always go in there to hang out with her. And they're like, "Okay, you have to go back outside." I'm like, Why didn't I pick to work somewhere in the air conditioning?
You had the plug for paninis, though.
Oh,
you
seriously.
had the hookup for paninis.
They had the Starbucks. Okay, I know these still exist today. However, in 2006, this was it. Those Starbucks Frappuccino bottles, like the pre-made bottles that you would drink that they have at the grocery store and stuff, those were truly it. And so I would drink those all the time. And they had those at the panini shop as well.
Yep. Yeah, those are good. I like those. I mean, I still will buy those every once in a while.
Are you a Starbucks person or are you a Dunkin person? This is a very divisive New England question.
Here's the thing. With Dunkin' Donuts, you never know what you're going to get. Every time you could order the same coffee 3 different times, and they're going to make it 3 different ways at Dunkin' Donuts. It's like, that's just how it is with Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know why. The amount of sugar, the amount of cream is different every single time. Starbucks is consistent. Yeah, I can go to Starbucks, and I know that I'm going to get the same drink 3 times if I order that drink 3 times. And Starbucks just hits a little bit harder, you know, and I feel like I need that these days.
Yes, between the two, I am a Starbucks girly 100%. I'm also, even ahead of Starbucks, Perkatory is my favorite Connecticut-based coffee shop.
Yep.
Yes, and so I love them. I'm sure you love them too because they blast punk pop music, and
I've never been there.
You need to go.
Yeah, I know. They have the whole, I think that emo night could work with them. I mean, they have the whole aesthetic down.
We need to have like a nostalgia Perkatory emo night party.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be so fun.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like we could definitely work on something. We could have done this in person.
Yeah, I know. I know. Next time we'll be reporting live from the scene.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I have one last question to ask you, which is extremely important because I think about it constantly. Do you remember the theme to Foxwoods Casino? They had like a jingle, a whole song.
Come on, dude. Spin the wheel, make it happen, pop the cork, fingers snapping.
Yes, okay. Thank God. Because I think about that jingle all the time. Maybe not constantly, but like all the time.
That Foxwoods jingle, anytime, so like anytime there's anything that even relates to gambling, I will immediately make the reference like, come on, dude, spin the wheel.
Yes. And I'll sing the entire song.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm like in the middle of doing something, if you know, my mom starts a sentence and gets me going, I'm like, well, you're invested for the next 45 seconds as I continue to dance and sing and do this like cabaret performance until it's over.
You know who needs to sing that song?
Who?
Michael
Bublé. Okay. We're going to make that happen. Michael Bublé, if there's one more song.
Tag Michael Bublé. Tell him he's got to sing the Foxwoods theme song.
That would be the most iconic thing ever.
To ever happen in Connecticut.
Seriously. Wow. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's been very enjoyable.
Thank you. Yeah, it really was. And thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
That's a wrap for this week. If you like Nostalgia, please connect with me on social, subscribe to the Nostalgia newsletter at nostalgia.substack.com, and follow, rate, review on your platform of choice. Everything's linked in the show notes, including where to find more about our guest of the week. Thank you so much for your support, and that was this week's episode of Nostalgia.